We are live 364 days a year.
What are we doing here?
If Dom turns at SummerSlam, I'm shaving my moustache off. I've told you, if that happens, it's going. My lip is cold because of a stupid bet that I made with YouTube.
Oh, good.
Wrestle's better than Daniel Bryan Daniels. Better than Okada.
How do you not get sushi after Monday Night Raw?
Good evening from Swansea, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. We're going to be talking last night's episode of Monday Night Raw, and boy, oh boy, is there a lot to talk about. Our head of reviewing, Kobe Galanzowski, released his review on it earlier today, and it was not only the highest rated Raw since the Raw after WrestleMania, but if you go back before then, it was the highest rated Raw for ages and ages and ages, to the point where I actually don't know when the last Raw rated as high as this one was. 4.5 stars on the Wrestling Republic system. That is no joke at all. A big deal, no doubt about it. But joining me here today, we have the man who believes you always need to eat sushi after Monday Night Raw. Clark, did you have sushi last night?
I did not. I went with tacos. It was Cinco
Ooh.
de Mayo. I was trying to be festive. I'm just saying. But I got to give Mr. G some credit. He's on a roll of late. I mean, the kid advances to the finals, high-rated show. Whatever's in the water up there in Canada, things are going well.
Absolutely. He's on a roll of a lifetime. But you are not, Clark. I mean, how on earth can you make Sushi Tuesdays a thing and then just not have sushi on a Tuesday?
Special occasion. Cinco de Mayo, dude, you got to celebrate.
Excuses.
Right? It's Mexican food. I mean, it is what it is. If I went Mexican food and sushi, that's a dangerous combo. I would not be on this show today.
Excuses. Talking about excuses, we're also joined by a Chelsea fan today. How are you, Archie?
That was a backhanded introduction, but I'll take it. I'm very good until that introduction. Now I've only been away for a few days. It seems like everything's changed. I mean, now I got a new intro and everything, but yeah, it's like I've kind of woken up from a coma or something. But no, I'm excited to talk about what is probably my favorite weekly wrestling show in wrestling right now, Monday Night. I can't do the Clark thing. Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw. It was an exceptional show. Kobe rated it perfectly, I thought. So yeah, I'm happy to be here and excited to get into it.
No doubt about it. DCX Warlord says Punk screwing Rollins instead of McIntyre. Sean Ellis says aloha. Shout out to you. Fernando says Raw was fire last night. No doubt about that. But talking about things that were fire, let's open things up by talking about that Paul Heyman promo, because that was absolutely exceptional. He explained why he joined with Seth Rollins, why he had to turn on Roman Reigns, how his hand was forced because of CM Punk. It was logical. It all made sense, and I loved it. And this all led to the main event where we had an impromptu World Championship encounter between Seth Rollins and Jey Uso. And it was an absolute heck of a match until CM Punk returned and cost Seth Rollins the win, meaning that it ended in DQ. Clark, I want to get your thoughts on all of this out of the gates.
Well, first and foremost, I have to give a shout out to whoever gave Paul Heyman that spray tan, because the fact that it didn't drip when he started sweating was just otherworldly. I've never seen such an obvious spray tan in my entire career covering professional wrestling, and there's a lot of spray tans out there. The promo itself was awesome. I loved it. I really did enjoy the match. I thought Sammy's part was a little overshadowed by the Punk return, but I liked the taped ribs coming out from the side. Then he takes the spear. The way he sold it, I thought was rock solid. And then, of course, the CM Punk return, it made sense of not putting the title on Seth Rollins. And what I really liked about the way that this was booked was, for a minute, I thought, dang it, they're going to give Jay 2 weeks. That's what it's going to be. And I really thought was going to be the result. I thought Rollins was going to get him. The CM Punk return I did not have on my bingo card, but I was stoked about it, which is shocking for me to say. I'm not necessarily the biggest of Punk fans, but I did enjoy it. If you're going to have a DQ finish, the one thing is it does overshadow Jay as the world champion again. He needed help here, and he's supposed to be the one carrying the title. He's the babyface. I would have liked to see it somehow lead to a pin. The odds get evened, and Jay still goes over. The DQ finish I'm fine with, though, at the end of the day. Punk being back, Punk Rollins is always exciting. We really haven't seen it all the way paid off, at least in my eyes, as much as we've seen them interact over this entire time since they've been back. I do think there's one more in the tank between those two, and I'm excited to see what they do with it.
Absolutely, and Fernando agrees, but he's saying that WWE is saving Jay versus Seth at SummerSlam for the title change, and I agree too. If you had Seth lose, he would have looked like an absolute idiot after putting him with this faction. This way, neither lost. Disqualification. And DCX Warlord goes, did Clark just say tsunami?
Is that a Bronson Reed? Is that a Bronson Reed emoji in the thing?
It is a Bronson Reed.
How have they done that?
Has just fascinating emotes.
The king of emotes. I got to give credit where it's due.
There was a Roman Reigns one, I think it was the other day as well. But Clark, you mentioned the spray tan too. There was a moment in the backstage segment later on, you could see it. It was running down his face, and I tried to take a screenshot, but Netflix, they don't like screenshots.
I mean, I'm wondering if he went and got one the first time and was like, not enough, do another layer.
Maybe
that's the only thing I could think of.
Maybe
him like he went on the longest Hawaiian vacation anyone's ever gone on.
Maybe him and Bron got like a 2-for-1 special or something because they're
both, man. Yeah.
They both went
Guys' day at the spa, spray tans and pedicures.
The thing is, I do feel like he saw the memes last week about him and Braun and the spray tans, and this week he just decided to one up it a bit more. And Braun Breaker last second went, actually, Paul, I've decided I'm not going to join you on going up another level. I'm going to stay here to be safe. But I mean, it's risky business. I'll tell you that much.
They both just showed into work, and Paul's just like, hang on, we had a deal. What's going on here?
Sean Ellis is exactly right. It doesn't really work.
Yeah, I mean, there's a picture which I did on the Twitter earlier on today, and it was exactly this time last year when Paul Heyman was basically just being bullied around by Solo Sikoa, and he's dead pale with grey hair. And then next to it, I put the photo from this time this year. They don't look like the same person at all.
Unbelievable.
Oh,
it is unbelievable.
But Archie, I want to get your thoughts on this segment and the main event.
I thought Paul Heyman, for starters, probably gave one of the promos of the year. Sometimes the best justification for a heel turn is the simple option. And he just perfectly justified it. This was kind of the reasoning we all thought, but he just kind of confirmed it. The Punk and Jay match was absolutely brilliant. I agree with Clark that I was on the edge of my seat thinking that we could actually have a title change. I thought maybe Triple H might have actually given in to the IWBC's criticism and only given Jay 2 weeks, but no, they didn't do that. And it was a perfect finish. I don't usually like DQ finishes, but they worked here. And now it seems like that Heyman, Seth, and Braun have got to go for a third man because they're up against Jay, Sammy, and Punk, potentially even Roman as well if Jay's still occupied by Logan Paul. And for me personally, I think there's only one perfect person to be the Randy Orton of this kind of group. And I can't shake it. I think Austin Theory would be the perfect third person for this group. I think him in that kind of character in this faction of being that young, arrogant, kind of irresponsible kind of member of the group would just absolutely nail it. Because the thing a lot of people don't realize or forget about Austin Theory is that comically he's actually really funny. And we saw that when he was with The Way, with Johnny Gargano and Candice and Indy Hartwell. He just had such amazing comedic timing. And it's not really something that he's been able to show off on the main roster too much. So I think if he joins this group and finds that perfect balance between that comic side of him and that serious side of him, then I think we're cooking.
I'd love that, and I said that earlier today as well. But sorry, my phone's just going off for a second. Hello. Oh, I'm so sorry, Triple H. No. Archie was not suggesting that you were going to pivot from Jey Uso. Don't worry, that's not what he said at all. We know you don't listen to the internet wrestling community.
No.
I'm so sorry. Have a lovely day.
Oh,
Sorry about that, guys.
I'm in his bad books now. He usually phones me, so that's now he's had to go all the way up to the head, the top of the headquarters in Wrestling Republic.
I usually
I'm sorry,
just text
Triple
him.
H. I'm sorry, Hunter.
He is fuming. But I do agree with you. Austin Theory would be an absolute fantastic addition to this. It's just how can you get him involved while also telling the Grayson Waller stuff? And you are right. He's a fantastic comedy act, but I want him to be more than that too. I want him to be a big deal in this company.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. But it's like with Randy Orton with Evolution, he was that kind of Batista and Triple H were a bit more serious, rather than Randy Orton was that kind of young, kind of irresponsible kind of member of the group that still has a lot to learn. I think he can bring that comic side of him, not being a complete comedy act, but bring that comic side of him into the group. And he can absolutely nail it. So I honestly, we can talk about like free agents like Jeff Cobb and Bronson Reed that maybe could be added to this group. They don't need this group. We need somebody. The third person in this group needs to be someone that needs to be in this group. And
Agreed.
Austin Theory is someone with a boatload of potential, but he just needs that one break. And I think, as you said, with the Grayson Waller stuff, they can do that simultaneously. I mean, where everyone's expecting Grayson to turn on Austin Theory, but Austin hits a swerve and actually stands up for himself and does things without speaking to Grayson and saying, "I'm joining this group now." And I mean, I guess maybe Grayson would be seen as the babyface in that scenario, which is the only bad part about it. But
I still think there's a way you could do it where he turns on him, but he's still seen as the face. The one thing I will say is, right, Austin Theory was at WrestleMania with Stone Cold Steve Austin in the same ring as Stone Cold Steve Austin at the age of 23, after already being in WWE at that point for 4 years. He is now 27. We have basically wasted 3 years of this guy's career. And I have a hot take, and I want to get your thoughts on it, guys. Personally, I believe if WWE didn't have really any plans for him this past 2 years, like they haven't, but they've shown they haven't had, I think they should have just released him, because I believe he would have grown his wings. Wow. 2 years ago, I think he would have grown his wings in this past 2 years. And I think by this time, if he'd left and come back, he could have already been Cody McIntyre status.
Here's the thing, though, right? So you say he was on WrestleMania with Stone Cold, with John Cena.
Didn't that guy reckon?
I don't think the past 3 years of his career has been wasted, because the crowd knows him. The crowd, he still gets reactions from the crowd. He's not getting dead reactions from the crowd. No, he's not getting dead reactions from the crowd. He's getting
he's
booed.
done nothing. The crowd are cheering for him because he's, they know what he used to do. But he's not done anything in the last 2 years.
I'm saying it's not a complete waste, because he's mixed it up and he's had the rub from those kind of legends.
I can't lie myself. For a while now, I felt like I had run out of save theories, but one of them was never cut the guy.
No. Here's the thing, right? I said this 3 years ago. I said Austin Theory's trajectory, the way that they are building him up, is almost identical to the way they were building up Drew McIntyre. We saw what happened there. He left the company, he came back, and he was a million times better. We've then saw a similar thing with Cody, albeit he was not the chosen one like Theory and McIntyre were. But the guy's career resembles Cody and McIntyre so much that, yes, I do think him finding his feeting outside the company is actually probably what's best for his career. And he's 27, still very, very young, but he doesn't have time to waste.
Yeah, he's already pretty yoked, though. I don't see him coming back looking like 8 years older like McIntyre did, with new hair and a beard. Like Drew McIntyre looks like a different person when he came back. Like
yeah.
No, I will
life
say,
happened to him between when he left and came back.
have you seen
Cody just
seen the
added a neck
pictures?
tattoo.
Have you seen the pictures though, guys, of Austin Theory 2 years ago versus now? He has actually done a bit of a Cody where he has gotten a lot more jacked.
Oh no,
but
he's
nobody's
ripped.
noticed it.
Yeah, he's yeah, go on.
I even think back to WrestleMania 39, he looked big bigger than I expected opposite John Cena in that match. I think he's definitely, at his age, come into his own, developed strength, developed muscle and whatnot. And that's where I'm like, if he goes away for too long, I'm not sure. I hear where you're coming from and I don't mind the theory.
Yeah.
Woof. That's pun not intended there.
Oh,
but
God.
at the same time, I think he deserves a roster spot in the WWE, and it's salvageable within the company at this stage of his career.
100%. You can do.
I think if that was going to happen, it needed to be 2 years ago.
That's my point.
You can rebuild him,
which I agree with.
You can easily rebuild him within the company. I mean, we're talking about Cody and Drew. Those are two guys that could have been rebuilt in the company as well, but they just had to.
No, Triple H even said they couldn't have. They had to go and
they were both Humpty Dumpty and Triple H.
Yeah, because they had
put them back together again.
Yeah, because they had he who shall not be named in charge, who was sticking by his morals.
I don't
100%.
I don't agree.
They had
with
no
that.
chance. Yeah, 100. No, they had no chance of being rebuilt in WWE while Vince was in charge. Theory, it's a lot
all
more
the king's
of a collaborative
horses and all the king's men.
There's a lot more of a collaborative effort in WWE now, where Theory doesn't have to. Anyone doesn't have to leave to get rebuilt. They can rebuild themselves within WWE.
I'm going to quickly just say this because I think you are right. He could rebuild himself in WWE, but to the point of Cody McIntyre and all of that, it is the same in any industry, in any company, in any sport. If you are on a team and you've been in a certain position for so long, it is occasionally hard then to get seen not as somebody in that position. Sometimes you have to leave and then come back to show, hey, you thought of me as some kid. I'm not that kid. I'm bigger than that kid. And then you're treated as a bigger deal. And we've seen that in football teams. We've seen that in businesses. It's a common thing in life. It's perception. At the end of not to get into perception again, just the part says Waller will eventually be a great face, but he is a natural heel. Theory and Waller are holding each other back. Creative teams / Triple H have overloaded rosters to deal with and can't find them a proper storyline. I mean, I think TV time, again, is an issue. It is. They only have X amount of time, and they have 36 times 200 wrestlers.
They have X amount of time, but there's not. They don't need to be in the ring all the time. There's things of backstage segments. There's things as social media. There's things as video packages. There's plenty they can do to help rebuild wrestlers and help wrestlers get some sort of storyline going for their own sake. So that bloated roster thing, I think it's just a bit of a cop-out kind of excuse for poor booking, in my opinion.
But they do stuff on social media, and a lot of people just don't watch it because there's just so much stuff produced.
But look at the Kathy Kelly and Rhea Ripley stuff. But
were the crowds cheering for that? No, that was a niche TikTok audience.
But it would have helped.
A large niche, but
it would have helped with the crowd, with Rhea with the crowd.
I don't know. What I actually think it helped more with was actually getting people to watch WWE, because I actually think it went outside the wrestling bubble and so it drew people into wrestling rather than actually having to get Rhea or Kathy over in WWE. Yeah,
which then, therefore, when they're watching WWE, they see how cool Rhea is, and Rhea's getting more reactions. So it's kind of goes in that cycle.
I thought she was arguably one of the best on the Stephanie McMahon show on ESPN Plus. Rhea's interview.
I haven't seen that.
Speaking of outside of wrestling, that was very well done. If anyone hasn't
I haven't seen any of that.
Highly recommend that.
In the UK.
I binged all the episodes. Oh, you can use my ESPN Plus.
But DCX Warlord says Cena really predicted the downfall of Theory. I think Cena helped with the downfall of Theory, if I'm being completely real. But anyway, moving on. Let's
hit him in the kneecaps with a verbal baseball bat.
He did. It was brutal.
That hurts.
But wait, actually, before we do, Charlie Esparza is saying over on Instagram, Randy could make a group with Oberfemi, Austin Theory, and Grayson Waller. I mean, I prefer Theory and Waller to part ways, but for Randy to actually create his own revolution and his own evolution to combat Seth Rollins' new dangerous alliance, perhaps.
I mean, didn't we already try that with Legacy?
Too many factions.
Maybe. I don't think there's too many factions in WWE. To be fair. I actually think the issue is they've not got enough to actually fight each other. But anyway, up next, let's talk about Roxanne Perez. A recent call-up, tons of potential, very young as well. I believe she's 22 or 23, but honestly, so much potential in the upcoming years. But sometimes you have chemistry with a talent and sometimes you do not. Her and Io Sky last night, they had bucket loads of chemistry. It was a 10-minute match. I wish it went an hour. It was phenomenal, and Io Sky got the win via roll-up. After the match, we had Julia beat down Io Sky. Next week, we have Julia and Roxanne versus Rhea and Io Sky. Clark, what's your thoughts on this entire thing?
I really, really loved the match, like you said last night, and the match was borderline perfect. I've been saying Monday Night Roxanne makes the most sense for a long time. When we were asked about NXT call-ups, if you watch the Tuesday night show, I've been saying it forever. I mean, Monday Night Roxanne, it's perfect. This match with Io was off the charts. The one complaint I had was the first of the two surfboard stomp super kick combinations was arguably the sloppiest move of the entire encounter. Roxanne kind of missed. They had to do it again. It was fine. In my eyes, Roxanne's got a really bright future. Io Sky's title reign's been cool, and it feels organic since the Rumble. I don't know who is going to take the title off of Io Sky, but Roxanne would have been cool. This would have been too soon. But taking this loss and even having Julia at her side makes me feel that the plan is different than that. So I'm not 100% sure where I'm at prediction-wise, Ben. I'm kind of like, ooh, I enjoyed it for what it was, but the future looks a little bit murkier to me.
Sorry, Triple H. Yeah, I know you said,
calling
stop
during the show,
B-wording and effing. I know you said it's not real life. I mean, listen, I understand, but hey, I get it. Clark's trying to say that Roxanne is dead in the ring. Ugh,
no, I didn't say that. I said there was one botched move in what was otherwise a masterpiece. I don't even know if it was on her. I think Julia had Io too low.
Can I just say, I think the biggest disappointment out of all of this is both of you are talking about Io Sky and you're not doing the little emote that's going.
It's gotten over. Delightful.
So good.
That's just like a light bulb moment in her head, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna spam that little emote now."
Yes.
It was gold.
She just had an idea.
Yeah.
Monday Night Roxanne is brilliant, Clark says Fernando. I mean, Clark, you've been saying it for a while, but I think it is going to be catching on very, very soon. I Make Beat says, I've seen her come up through NXT and killed it. No doubt about that. Then, did somebody mention Tessa Blanchard?
No.
I didn't think we did. I was like, the comments are all on with Tessa Blanchard. I can't work
out
why.
Not even one time.
I
didn't even consider saying her name.
Is there a war going on in the comments?
She had nothing to do with the topic.
But there is a comment I want to read out from Yuan, who's saying everyone is a part of a faction these days. Individuals need to start captivating an audience by themselves. You are right. There's a lot of factions, but there's not a lot of main event factions. So that's why I do think if you're going to have an Orton, Theory, over Femi together, it could work and could stand out. But there are too many jobber factions, that is for sure. Alpha Academy, for example, I think they've outstayed their welcome. But that's a story for another day. Something which hasn't outstayed its welcome, in fact, it is only starting to be appreciated, is something, Clark, I think you can tell us a little bit about. Tell us about our friends over at Etsy.
Oh, you're going to love this. If you haven't downloaded it yet, doesn't matter what kind of phone you got, download the Etsy app on the App Store or the Google Play Store. Head over to the upcoming stream section. We have all kinds of good stuff. We've got a big day planned Saturday for you. We got a prediction show and a preview show where we'll just be hanging out and talking. And if you'd like to join, you are more than welcome to do so. All you got to do is have a cell phone. You don't even have to turn the camera on if you don't want to, but you're more than welcome to if you'd like to be shown on the stream. And then you're allowed to argue with us, get in there, mix it up, have a good time. It's me, Takes, as well as Big Ant You. And I do think We the Ones will be there as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun on Saturday. Go ahead and download that app and get ready and head over to the upcoming stream section.
It is honestly so fun, guys. Get downloading it. It is free. But David Hall just taking an unnecessary dig at Roxanne Perez. A bar stool is taller than Roxanne Perez.
I'm 5'6.5", so I'm not going to be taking short jokes.
You and Chad Gable.
Oh, shut up.
I'll tell you what, that take deserves to be. Actually, I'm not going to say what that joke was going to say. But I was going to take a shot at.
Yeah, I've never seen Ben just go like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and censor myself before I finish this punchline.
Well, you know what? I'll say it anyway. That takes belongs on Barstool. That's how bad it is. These checks for Lord says bring back the Chop Squad. But
oh my God.
I'll get crucified if Barstool Twitter ever gets a clip of that. Right, anyway, let's now move on and let's talk about Pat McAfee and Gunther, because I'm going to be honest, I think the build to Backlash has quite frankly been lackluster. Now, I will say, really difficult to build a pay-per-view when you have 3 weeks to do it. Really difficult. But the build for Backlash, even still, I think has been very poor, apart from 2 matches. One, Cena Orton, it builds itself. But the second one is Pat McAfee and Gunther. These guys have had 3 weeks and 3 must-watch segments. That incredible Gunther Michael Cole McAfee segment on the Raw after Mania. Then after that, that incredible promo by Pat McAfee last week. And this week, Archie, they had a really fantastic promo encounter, in my personal opinion. What's your take on it?
Oh, it was a fantastic promo battle. I mean, Pat McAfee. Look, we say what you want about Pat McAfee, but you can't deny that he's a genuine fan of this. He's somebody that grew up watching this, and who am I really to criticize someone for just living out their dream of in being in WWE or one of their dreams? And the guy is actually a really great promo. I mean, he was kind of cooking Gunther on the mic before Gunther started talking, referencing Walter, and that Gunther doesn't really feel like Gunther wants it anymore because he's reached the big time and because he's reached the top now. I feel like that's going to be Gunther's story post-Mania, is him trying to find that hunger again, I feel like, which I'm not mad at. And Gunther just came back with an extremely explosive promo. Obviously referenced Pat's daughter, I think, in her birthday. And then just absolutely kind of shot back on the mic perfectly and just said, I'm actually going to basically just maul you at Backlash. And I'm going to give you all of my undivided attention. And that's the scary part. The scary part, what I was expecting Gunther to say, you're not worth my time. But Gunther's mad. Gunther's mad after losing the title to Jey Uso. And he's giving all of his undivided attention to Pat McAfee. And that's the scary part about this. I think this match, a lot of people are ruling it out. I think it's going to be one of the best matches on the show. Storytelling wise, I think Pat McAfee is going to get absolutely demolished in this, and rightfully so, because to me, a lot of people complaining about this. I think this is the perfect way to follow up Gunther losing his title to Jey Uso post Mania, and then you can kind of build towards him getting towards that title again.
Yeah, I do think that is the way it's going to go. I think Pat McAfee, to your point, Archie, is going to be in trouble because Gunther's his full attention is on him. Line of the promo is what I Make Beat said, Waltering around.
Yeah. Great.
Fantastic.
It's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, as I said, Pat is something that I admire about Pat is he's not playing a character when he's doing these things on TV. He's being himself, and a lot of people might find that annoying. Kind of how overly excited he is a lot of the time. But I kind of just think that's how he is as a person. And I mean, I'm not going to fault somebody for getting a job for being themselves.
Exactly. And I think he has fun, and it's clear he's having fun, and the fun is almost infectious.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I also think the timing of it being in Omaha and it being such a football city, something that Pat's so tied to, that crowd was the perfect venue for this promo to happen. And I understand there were probably some lines that, whatever you could argue are like, oh, low hanging fruit. He gives the nod to the Nebraska football coach, right? He gives the nod to the local stuff. But the timing of it, given his ties to, right, like famously the game day at Nebraska when he first started College Game Day, he had the crowd going crazy. They loved Pat there. So to have a crowd that was already behind Pat and him deliver such an impassioned promo against Gunther, it made Gunther's lines about, you have my undivided attention, I'm going to let you go tonight, land even more, because the crowd had this weird hush. It was like, oh shoot, Pat's getting one over on the microphone, and the clock's ticking.
Back.
It was fantastic. We got a couple of comments I want to get to real quick. Firstly, Giancarlo commented on Instagram before this, now on Twitter, absolutely adamant that they want Sari back in WWE. Absolutely adamant. I believe they're under contract elsewhere, but
I don't want Saray back in WWE. I much prefer to see her doing the brilliant work she's doing outside of WWE right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see her back in WWE, but
at the right time. At the right time.
Yeah, I think she's under. I don't know where is she under
contract? Is it Stardom? Here we go. We got to do a fact check now.
Yeah, no, Suka Ban.
Oh right, okay.
Right. Yeah, I don't know, but I'd like to see it happen if it's possible, but I don't think it will be. But oh gosh, some comments about Paige now as well. We're going really off topic. But Fernando says, I think this should be a street fight. I Make Beat says, I think Pat gets squashed to write him off for his other work commitments. Clark, is the college football season about to start by any chance?
So they, generally speaking, like they're about to start as soon as the school year ends, essentially, right? Coming up at the end of this month for most schools. It's a little different depending on the university. That's generally when you're going to start summer training camp. And College Game Day usually does their summer training camp tour, which I'm assuming Pat McAfee will be a part of, where they go visit different universities and do interviews with some of the, the key players and the coaches and whatnot headed into the season. So the season will start in the last week of August, early September. But the training camp aspect of it, the summer tour is one of ESPN's biggest and most watched features, because individually, right, if you go to a major university, for example, University of Texas fills the stadium with 100,000 people for every game of the year. When they go to the University of Texas to break down the training camp and do the season preview stuff, and Pat's there and all those interviews, the numbers are astronomical on how it's watched. It's stunning how big of a business it is.
You can either have a front row seat on Monday Night Raw being a commentator, or you can watch some kids run around training on a field.
The big thing is, it's not necessarily that they're covering just the training. It's the preview for the season. So it's like a compilation of interviews and the storylines. They kind of go over the schedule. It's a really long, cool feature. Honest to goodness, if they did something similar to the Premier League, trust me, you'd be fascinated in the offseason. Like, they do as a college football fan, it is something I look forward to, because it gives you sort of the lay of the land headed into the season, considering with university and with college football, you're having students graduate and whatnot. There's a lot of turnover with the teams. So you're starting to realize, like, oh, this kid was a sophomore last year. He's going to be the starting quarterback. He's a junior now. And like, you kind of get to know him, right? And things like that. It's more about that than it is necessarily just footage of like the training camp and the early practices itself. It's about
justice the season. Corey Graves. Let's talk about.
He's going to get it because he'll be on TV.
Let's hope so.
No, it'll be Wade.
Honest, I think
it'll be Wade.
He might just do Wade.
Wade do double time.
Yeah.
Might. In all seriousness, that does actually sound entertaining. But let's now talk about the promo segment, which has been getting a lot of praise alongside that Heyman promo. And that was the segment between Becky and Lyra. Now, hot take out of the gate. I didn't have any problem with this promo, but I didn't think it was something which was great. I kind of just thought it was a bang average promo. But everybody else seems to disagree with me on this one. Archie, I want to get your take.
I'm one of those that disagree with you on this one. I think this was a fantastic promo exchange. The first one last week was was good. This one was a lot better because I think why a lot of people like this promo so much is because this isn't Lyra fading into the "oh, I'm meeting my hero" kind of thing. This is Lyra standing up for herself and actually doing what maybe Tiffany Stratton should have done against Charlotte Flair if she got given the opportunity, if Charlotte let her talk, which is stand up for herself and say, "No, I'm here. You may have been a small part in helping me get here, in helping me get to where I am today, but I'm here mainly because of the hard work and effort I put in." But I just want to say one thing actually is that I think there needs to be some justice for Becky Lynch in here because she's technically the heel, as the fans say. But in my eyes, I think she's the babyface because everything she's saying is completely true. You know, I mean, why are the fans suddenly booing her against Bayley when Bayley's been the one that's been tormenting her for all these years? Why is she getting Becky Hogan shouts when she's helped build up more wrestlers than anyone in the women's division has?
Wow.
Really, over the past. Well, I'm standing by it. Actually, I've more than any.
You could make the argument. I
mean, who?
It depends what time frame you put on it.
In WWE, if we go from say her main eventing WrestleMania to now, I'd say nobody else in the women's division has helped elevate talent to newer heights that they haven't seen before than Becky Lynch. In women's wrestling.
There's one other one. You're not going to like it. Nobody's going to like it.
Is it Mercedes
Charlotte
Moné?
Flair. Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair. People forget.
Who?
Elevated Rhea.
If we're who else?
Bianca Belair.
Jinx.
Becky did it. Becky did Bianca first. Becky elevated Bianca first.
Becky squashed Bianca Belair at SummerSlam because she wasn't clear.
She was Charlotte Bianca first. What, no?
She squashed Bianca Belair at SummerSlam.
Charlotte and Bianca hasn't.
That's not putting Bianca over. She squashed her at SummerSlam.
Clark, WrestleMania 38, she gave Bianca
one rock bottom ball game.
WrestleMania 38, she gave Bianca a win in front of how many people are in AT&T Stadium? Like 70 or 80.
Yeah, she owed her one after the 16-second match they had at SummerSlam.
And what happened? Did she
beat Becky in 16 seconds?
No, it's not even.
Enough said.
You can't put that on Becky. The fact that Becky was able to actually help turn that around and still help make Bianca into the star she is today, that's a testament to how good she is.
Taking the title off of her after her gigantic, monumental main eventing WrestleMania against Sasha Banks, the way she loses the belt is in 16 seconds to the redheaded rock bottom.
Because she's
what do they call it?
Was she getting as loud crowd reactions?
I agree with the Becky take.
Was she? was she getting as much? I'm stumbling on my words now. Was she getting as much? Was she getting as loud crowd reactions after the Sasha Banks match or after the Becky?
Have you seen the opening
after the Sasha Banks match?
Absolutely.
No. You're so wrong on that.
1,000%. Sasha Banks got Bianca Belair more over than Becky
before she even beat Sasha Banks. Watch the first 30 seconds of that match where they don't touch each other and listen to the crowd.
It's a fantastic match, but at least there was an actual kind of proper build to the Becky and Bianca match. The build to the Sasha.
Well, it wasn't. She was a surprise. At
No,
SummerSlam,
some
she
of
was
the main
surprised
events.
that she
Some
beat
of
her
the-
in 16
yeah.
seconds.
To the WrestleMania 38 match.
Okay.
There was a proper build. There was an actual story
Yeah.
being told there over the months. This is what I'm.
The
That's
story,
what
I
I'm.
owe
That's,
you
that's
one?
what. That's no. That's the story
The-
is Bianca on a redemption tour.
Right.
The Bianca and Sasha story. In fact, you know what? I take back. If you're talking about women's wrestling as a whole, I do think Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné has put over more people in that time.
I'll also
But I
say
think
this.
a lot of that is because it's outside WWE, so it's easier to do that
Here's-
because it's a lot more unmade stars.
Outside of this debate, one thing I got to say about last night's thing is
Yes.
the
Yeah.
very reason that we all thought this was so great is because it was convenient timing. It looks outstanding up against anything Charlotte and Tiffany Stratton did. It's perfect timing. So it was a very good promo from both sides, but it just looked otherworldly compared to any of that. And it's a no-brainer to compare the two. So all of a sudden we're like, oh, this looks like a normal promo. And it's great because it's better than what we got before. I think that's a big reason that this was so heavily praised. And I'm not saying I didn't like it. I really liked it. It was a good promo, but it was made to look a heck of a lot better based on recency bias, is what I would say.
I mean, the Raw women's division right now is on absolute fire. Meanwhile, on SmackDown, Naomi's struggling with back pain from carrying it. I mean, you can't compare the two. It's so drastic right now.
You know why this was so better received to the Charlotte and Tiffany thing is because Becky, every single promo exchange she's had, and you can look back at this, is not afraid to get an egg put on her face by her opponent. And Charlotte, she's
That's
afraid
true.
to do that. One thing I do want to see after Becky's little dig at Mercedes Moné. I hope Lyra says you say that you were my hero. I was actually a Sasha Banks fan all along, and that's what she should say.
Awesome.
Because she's actually tweeted. She tweeted in support of Sasha Banks against Becky Lynch when they were having their match in NXT.
Lyra used to be part. I only found this out today. She used to be very much part of wrestling Twitter, and was not afraid to share some opinions on her Twitter page.
No, she was bang on with most of them.
Yeah, great opinions too, but still, maybe should have deleted some of those. But anyway, that's
Internet is
Stand your
forever.
ground.
That's true.
It's not as though she didn't delete those, but Solo's like, I need to delete the math tweets I put out as quickly as possible.
I hate math.
Yeah.
I do hate math.
He
Well, it's like-
honestly, if Solo Sikoa was as passionate in his promos as he is about his hatred of maths, I think he would be WWE champion by now.
I hate maths as well, Solo. I failed GCSEs maths.
She's
so-
got to do the addition to get to the top of the card, and that's what's missing.
Oh man!
You're on one today, Clark, with these puns. But that does bring us to the end of the show. It's been a blast with you two, as always. Thank you, Clark. Thank you, Archie. But also, thank you to each and everybody who's commented. And I want to quickly read out a couple more comments before we wrap it up. Fernando says, agree, Sasha made Bianca a star. No doubt about that. Not to say Becky didn't help, but she already was a star by that point. She was already main evented at WrestleMania by that point.
Right, but Archie's
Can't
wrong.
say somebody's been not made once they've main evented a WrestleMania. You're the real deal at that point. Just apart says Lyra versus Becky is a great story to push Lyra higher. No doubt about that as well. In all seriousness, Becky has elevated so many talents to Archie's point.
Yeah.
So has Mercedes Moné, but they are both
Becky's done it more.
fantastic. On that note, thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you guys same place, same time tomorrow. And it will be Clark, Archie, and University, a special guest. See you
And
guys
then tonight
Have a
off the
great
air.
one. Of course, tonight
Tune in.
off the air. Make sure to check that out as well following NXT. Have a good one. Bye. Peace.